Welcome back to the Friar Talk podcast. Today we're going to be talking about whether or not the Padres should be benching Eric Hosmer. Now we've seen he has definitely become a defensive liability since he has joined San Diego, and I know that he has 4 Gold Gloves and won those in Kansas City. But I think Friday night was a prime example of that. Eric Hosmer is not a good first baseman any longer. In fact, I think is the lowest rated defensive player in the league right now. So Isaac, should the Padres bench Eric Hosmer? And if they should bench him, what does that entail? Does that entail that he isn't an everyday starter anymore? Because he has pretty much been an everyday starter since he signed to the Padres. But does that mean that he's just not an everyday starter? Does that mean he's fully on the bench? What do you think they should do?
No, I think it's just a matter of he's not going to be an everyday starter. I think we've seen the Padres' unwillingness to completely sit him on the bench, and that's not saying that I think he should be a full-time bench player. I do think he's not a very good baseball player. He doesn't play defense very well, and I was telling Matt, I don't think I've ever seen anyone make first base look so hard, but he does it. I think that play that Cronenworth made, that diving play and one hop to the first, that was an easy play that definitely should have been made. I think almost all first basemen in the major leagues make that kind of play, and it wasn't made. And that ended up costing Chris Paddock a little bit a run, I believe it was. Props to Chris Paddock, by the way, even though he that Hosmer blunder happened, the Tatis, I don't even know what to call that. That happened, and he pitched a good game. So props to Chris Paddock for that. But regarding Eric Hosmer, I think he's going to be more of a platoon player. We see him against righties. Because I'll give it to him. That's the one thing he does pretty well, hit against righties. Against lefties, he's pretty abysmal, and that's probably where we'll see someone like Jerkson Profar, or maybe we'll see Jake playing first and Kim playing second, or Frazier playing second. I'm done with Frazier, been done with Frazier, but I'd probably rather see that than Hosmer hitting against the lefty. But if he's able to hit like that against righties and play at least decent first base, I'm not opposed to him being a platoon player. But as a full-time player every day, there's just no way you can do that just because he is statistically one of the worst players in baseball. That's not saying he can't hit, because I'll give it to him. When he goes on those runs, he can hit. He looks like a good hitter. He has a nice swing and everything, but he just hasn't come through for the Padres the way that I think we all knew he wouldn't come through the way that Preller thought. But I think Preller took a major loss on this one, and I think that's been known for a while.
Yeah, I agree. I think that you're looking at like the value of what does he bring. Well, at the plate, it's not like it's all bad. This year, 272 on base, 340. Now the problem is that he's slugging under 400, and if you guys aren't that familiar with slugging percentages for a first baseman, that's pretty terrible. Like that's really really low. And just to compare, last year he slugged 517. This year he's at 397. The main difference is that his power numbers are so far down. Last year he played in only 38 games. This year he's played in 127. He's only hit 11 home runs right now. Last year he hit 9 in those 38 games. Like his power numbers are so far down to where they were last year. And last season was by far the best year he's had on the Padres. He's only had last year was his 4th time over a 800 OPS. But his average, career average is sitting around 278. So like you said, like he can be a solid hitter. But the defense is where it's really been bad. I know that he's like one of the lowest rated first basemen. There was a time where he was like the 3rd lowest rated player in the league, just because he hadn't really got hot yet at the plate, and his defense had been so bad that it was just pulling him his overall WAR down so far. But I'm with you. I think that's what we should see. After Friday, on Saturday, it was interesting that Jerkson Profar comes in and makes a couple like crazy picks. Namely the one where Will Myers throws it back in to try to get a force out of first base, and it's like the throw is way off. And Jerkson, not only does he like run to the ball, he completely lays out and makes a great pick, just to save the ball from being in air and saving an advancement of the runner. I do not envision Eric Hosmer making that play in the slightest. I think there is like no chance that happens. So we saw that. It's like, okay, I think we can already tell that Profar is a better first baseman than Eric Hosmer. That's pretty crazy. Anyone saying like, it was a bad throw by Jake. It wasn't the best throw by Jake, but that's a very easy play for an MLB level first baseman to make. if we had, and I've brought this one up, of course, like a million times, but this is a guy I watched growing up. You put Adrian Gonzalez there, he's picking that 1,000 out of 1,000 times. Like, he's not missing that pick. That's never happening.
Mm-hmm.
And, some of the footwork by Eric Hosmer lately, the one play where he's just caught, like, napping, where it's a ground out to second, like, there's been so many plays like that where either the footwork's bad or he falls off the bag. Like, we've seen him do some weird stuff. And his play at first base has been terrible. So that's why I think that, I do think he's a guy that could be moved in the offseason. Now, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. If the DH is implemented, you're going to see Eric Hosmer play DH a lot because he has, there has been so much that he's affected this team negatively on the defensive side. You want to look at a lot of these errors by the middle inning defenders, like the I don't know what I'm saying, like the the shortstops, the second basemen, the third baseman, any of these infielders, all these picks, they like a lot of them are easy. And Isaac, you even said that you play a little bit of first base, not a ton, but even playing younger, like you should be able to make these picks. Didn't you say that?
Yeah, I mean, I think anyone, maybe not anyone, but anyone that's played baseball could go in and play first base and just maybe not be able to pick a ball that Fernando throws because that's almost a death sentence for us amateur baseball players. But I mean, all these kind of throws that, like Fernando, he's at what 16 to 18 errors. I think he's probably down to 8 or 9 if Eric Hosmer is not playing first base. There's a guy that we traded for Austin Nola and Ty France who is not only making way less money, but he's playing a lot better than Eric Hosmer is right now at first base. And I think when he was coming up with us, he was more of a third baseman. We put him a lot at third base. I remember people were talking about him being a catcher or whatever. But right now he's really flourishing at first base with the Mariners. And unfortunately, we have a guy we're paying I think it's $13 million this year to be one of the worst rated first basemen. Now, like I said, he can be a good hitter against righties, but it's just a matter of Eric Hosmer. The way people were talking him up is that you think you're getting a consistent Gold Glove first baseman who's consistently going to hit 20 to 25 bombs with a non-juice ball, of course, this year. But the power numbers are absolutely not there, and I think that's kind of other than the defensive side, I think that is the most disappointing aspect of how he's played. Now, power numbers this year are kind of down across the league. We saw a couple years ago, Fernando Reyes and Hunter Renfroe had like 25 at the All-Star break, and we know Manny Machado maybe not doesn't have as much power as them, but he's a better hitter than them. He's only at like 22 or 23 right now, and I think at that time in 2019. He was at 21 or 22 at the All-Star break as well, if I remember correctly. So power numbers are down across the league unless your name is Shohei Ohtani, Fernando Tatis Jr., Vladdy. I mean, Marcus Simeon's doing great, but Eric Hosmer's power has not been there. And as a 5-hole, you need to be able to bring in those runs consistently, whether it be with the long ball, doubles, whatever it is. But, I'm always for hitters hitting for average. But when you get talked up as much as Eric Hosmer, when you're, like 6'3", 6'4", 225, I expect you to hit some bombs, more bombs than just 10 or 11.
And also, he's playing a position where you typically have a power hitter. Like, first base is a spot where it's pretty rare that guys don't hit a lot of home runs. Like, you should be expected like 20 or more. That's what I think the Padres expected. And that just hasn't really been the case. I know he's done that in the past. Even like Manny this year has been down on his power numbers, and he's still over 20. Like, it's really low. We have seen some improvement with the bat when his launch angle has been, increased, which is a very good sign. That's why I do think, he's the future DH if he's not moved. So that's kind of, I think, where it's going to be. But putting Profar at first base against lefties, I'm a big fan of that. I think that makes the most sense. Eric Hosmer's numbers aren't, like, if you just look at him and glance at him, like, they're not terrible against lefties, but his OPS is 708, I think. It's really low. It's pretty bad. So I'm still going to lean, putting Profar there. Also, Profar has shown an ability to get on base at a much higher rate than Eric Hosmer. And also, he's not going to provide a ton of power either, but he's been a better fielder as well. So I think if you just keep tossing out Eric Hosmer expecting, this Gold Glove first baseman and, this super clutch dude, like, to just come back, like, that's not going to be the case. And it's not giving the Padres the best chance to win right now. I know a lot of people have been super frustrated. I know, Isaac, you've been super frustrated. I mean, we all have. We all have been really frustrated with it. But we're just not going to see, some superstar emerge. I mean, it's definitely been as bad as a signing as you can have.
100%.
But I think that you might see the Padres implement this. Hey, Profar's going against lefties, and if a lefty comes in to pitch against Eric Hosmer, we're going to pinch hit Profar, and that's what we saw on Sunday. And I think that's what I expect to see moving forward, and I really hope that's the case. But anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I think something that doesn't go noticed, and you look throughout the lineup, you see, for example, I think yesterday's lineup was like Grisham, Tatis, Machado, Cronenworth, Hosmer, Myers. I forgot what it was, but if you look from top to bottom, there's really two or maybe even three huge liabilities on the base pass, only because they're not fast. For example, you want guys that actually have a chance to be able to score from first to home. Eric Hosmer is 100% absolutely not that guy. Even on a base hit to right field, you want the guy on first to possibly be able to make it to third. The Padres at one point were the best team in taking extra bases. So, you're able to get Hosmer out of that lineup, and maybe I think Profar probably has a better chance at doing that. Cronenworth obviously has a better chance at doing that. And I mentioned the other base running liabilities. It's definitely one is Hosmer, another being Adam Frazier, and another being Victor Caratini. Like even Austin Nola as a catcher, he's got some wheels. Who else is there? Profar is decent at running. Ha-seong Kim is a good base runner. Like, I think when it comes playoff time, come right now down the stretch, being able to take those extra bases is definitely going to be important. And Hosmer doesn't do that for you. The only way Hosmer can make up for that is by hitting some bombs. And 10 or 11 is not very good. I think what'd you say? What's his slugging percentages?
It's 397, I think it is.
Yeah,
it's under 400.
Like, that's not good. So he doesn't even make up for it with his power. And so the Platoon is a good option for him. But as an everyday player, there's no way the Padres can keep doing that.
Yeah, I'm there as well. So anyone, if you disagree, tell us why you disagree. If you agree, let us know why that's the case as well. But that's going to do it for today. We're going to be going live tomorrow evening, and then we're going to have our normal, everyday episodes or live streams moving forward. So that's going to do it for today. Thank you all for listening, and we'll talk to you very soon.